Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about a question that came up in a live stream. It's the age old question of, do I need to go to college to be an artist? And it's like, well, the simple answer, if you don't want to watch the rest of the video, is no, you don't. But that's a really simple answer to a much more complicated question. And I know I kind of addressed this a little bit in one of my previous videos, which is why I made a lesson plan for myself. It's kind of along these lines of thinking, but I wanted to delve into this a little bit deeper to really kind of focus in on this question of, do you actually need to go to college? One thing I like to do when I am trying to make a big decision like this, because I know this kind of decision, it's like, oh my gosh, it's life altering, and they want you to make this decision when you're young, like maybe you're 18 years old, and you're expected to make a decision on going to college and picking your degree, the thing you're supposed to do the rest of your life, and you're supposed to pick it correctly. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask for. Now, for me, would I have gone to college? Yes, because I had a free ride. I got really good grades in high school. I got a free ride, so I was able to go to college for free. Of course, I would have used that to study artwork had I continued down that path in my college, which I wish I would have. Instead, as you know from my first video, I ended up kind of leaving artwork for 2 years, then coming back and doing art classes on the side at a community college level. And then after college, I actually took one semester of a master's program, which was fantastic. Before graduating, I actually took one semester at a game school, which was a complete waste of money and a complete waste of time. So it could be good and it could be bad. I like to weigh the pros and cons of either going to college or not going to college, and then what are the pros and cons of either choice? Because you got going to college and not going to college. What are the pros and cons? I think it helps to break this down a little bit, and so I'm just going to make this almost like a whiteboard session. All right. Let's say we have college. Pros. What are the main benefits of going to college? So in no particular order, because I'm just going to go off what comes to mind first. The first thing that comes to mind to me as a benefit to going to college for artwork is networking, because you get to meet people, and those people could end up being your future coworkers, or maybe they introduce you to your future boss, or maybe someone who wants to end up being a collector of your work, or someone that can help you get your book published or whatever. Networking is huge, and of course, it's not just about them helping you. It's like you may be the someone who helps someone else get a job, right? It goes both ways, and really, that's what networking should be. It should be going both ways. So that's a huge benefit of going to college, assuming you actually go meet people. Two, two would be, it's a way to be held accountable. I'm just going to call this discipline, or accountability. So what do I mean by that? Simply put, you're in a class, you have a teacher telling you what to do every day or every week. He's teaching you a lesson, he or she is teaching you a lesson. They are giving you assignments, they're grading the assignments. You have deadlines to complete the assignments by. You're not the one who has to go and find resources that you're going to use to do the study. Like you're being given all the information, and you're being given deadlines. So it takes a lot of work away from you. It puts it onto the school. But the biggest piece of this is the fact that they're holding you accountable. If you don't do the work, you don't pass, assuming they're actually a good school. And this is where I said I went to a game school for one semester. I actually quit the week before I would have graduated that first semester because I never wanted to come back. I met some really good people there, but based on what I learned about the school and how they let people graduate, I feel like they were only in it for the money. And so I have nothing but bad feelings towards the school itself. I still talk to some people that I met there, but I don't know anyone from the school that actually made it in the industry. And the big eye opener for me, and this is where you have to know this kind of thing when you're picking a school. And if you're going to go to school, I met a guy who was graduating the program. And this to me was like the clincher. This is why this was the nail in the coffin, so to speak. Because there were lots of red flags. This was a burning bush. So I went to a game developer conference in California with the school, with a whole bunch of people. But while there, obviously I got to talk to a lot of other people. It's kind of that networking thing. And I got to talk to game companies. And on the way back, at the end of this conference, after already finding out they didn't really want to talk to us, at least not the school that I had chosen, I saw a kid on the tram or whatever, and we found out we went to the same school. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. What do you do? What are you going for? And he says he's going for animation. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I love animation. Do you have a portfolio? And he's like, yeah. And he shows me the portfolio, and it wasn't good. Okay, thankfully I don't know the name, so I can never accidentally say who this is because I don't want to name people. The portfolio was horrible. It was horrible. And if you gave me an animation program right now and just said, here's the pieces, can you animate this and make it look good, make it look realistic and believable and interesting, I could do a better job now without taking any formal animation classes than what he did. And so my next question to him was, oh, cool, when are you going to graduate? Because really I was trying to see how far are you in this program, because this is a very horrible portfolio, and you're here showing this horrible portfolio to game companies. He said he was in his final semester. His final semester, and his portfolio was worthless. It was worthless. I could have done better without even going to college. It was so bad. And that's when I realized that school was only in it for the money. I'm supposed to be talking about pros here, and I'm talking about other things, but you have to be careful when you pick a school. And just because you're going to school, it does not mean they're actually going to have proper discipline and proper accountability. And that's why I brought up that story, because they're supposed to be giving the discipline and accountability. What they gave instead was, sign this agreement, give us your money, we'll give you a degree, which means it's worthless. Just completely worthless. They should have said, no, you got to take this class again because you didn't actually learn what we were teaching. And that's assuming they were teaching it well. I don't know. But they were not holding him accountable, and they were not giving proper discipline. The third, what's another pro of going to college? You got networking, you got discipline. Obviously, I kind of mentioned one before, lesson planning. It's like they've already done the work of planning out the lessons, so you don't have to. And that really does take a lot of work off your shoulders and puts it onto them. I kind of mentioned this before, but if you don't like to plan yourself, then you need to find a plan. And certainly college is an easy way to do that. What's another pro? Can you think of any? Satisfy parents. Let's face it, a lot of parents think you have to go to college in order to do something with your life. It's been ingrained in us now. Even my dad, who was a businessman, who had a very, very successful business, he really wanted me to go to college. Like, this is very ingrained in our society now. So if you want to just satisfy that, great, you can go to college if you want to. All right, now let's focus on the cons. Let's just focus on this. Cons. 1, it is expensive. Depending on where you go, it's going to depend on what it costs. Surprisingly, when I went to the game school, I was going for an art-related degree. And I had a drawing class as one of my first classes there. Right? I only went there one semester. And I would expect this kind of school that's like, it's a game school. It's not your normal college that you would take as a normal path from school to university or whatever. It's not that kind of place. I would expect that the people going here would already be passionate about what we're doing. And if they're passionate, they should have already been working on it. They should have already been drawing a whole bunch, or they wanted to be an artist and things like that. What the teacher told me when I showed her my work, like we had to do a still life, and I remember I drew a Gatorade bottle, and it was good. It was good drawing. And I showed her that, and she was like, "Oh, you've done this before." And I'm like, "Yeah, where's the advice?" Like, "Yeah, I've done this before. Of course I have. I want to do this for a living. This is my passion. I'm coming to a game school because this is my passion. I like to make things." But that's not what the class was really doing. It was really just a way for them to get money. And it was a lot of money for very bad teaching. That was one of the worst classes I've actually ever had in all of my education that I have had. That was one of the worst. And it cost me a ton of money. I want to say back then, and so it's probably more money now because that was quite a while ago. It was like $8,000 back then for one semester. $8,000 for them to say, okay, you pass. Now, I've had better luck at local schools. I went to a local community college, which is way significantly cheaper. This is where if you don't get a full ride to a university, the smart thing to do is to go to a community college for 2 years. It's a lot less expensive. You still get good education, and then you move to the university for the final 2 years. Well, they have art classes there too. And from my experience, they were significantly cheaper. Like back then, like $300 for a class for a semester. And the teachers were actually good. Like they were really good. So that's a much cheaper way to go, but they can't give you a full degree. They can only give you an associate. So if you want a degree, eventually you have to go to a university. And I know a lot of people, they get really hung up on the best art schools, and they're very expensive. Another one I went to when I went to the master's program, that was the Academy of Art University. That was also really expensive, but it was a very different experience in UAT. That I was just floored with how good that school was, at least when I was there for the semester that I was there. I only went there for one semester and I stopped because it was just too much time away from my family. I felt like if I was going to continue that, I would have to basically give up my family for a couple of years. I'm like, nope, can't do that. So I would take this slower, take longer, as long as it takes, but I have to do it on my own terms. And, if I was still single and I was young, I would have loved to go to that program. I would have flourished under that kind of tutoring and education. It was very, very, very good. It was also extremely expensive. So that is the con. It's very expensive. Even if it's good or even if it's bad, it's expensive. All right, what are the other cons? Ooh, here's a con. They do the lesson planning. Now, why is this both a pro and a con? See, it's a pro because they're taking some stuff off your shoulders. But it's a con because they make you take classes that you probably don't need. For example, if you went to a local university, you'd have to take the general studies. They're just general classes that are not actually really useful for your degree. And it probably doesn't help what you're actually going for. Like, you don't need University 101 and how the university works. Like, you don't need that kind of class if you want to go, whatever, be an accountant or a programmer. You just need to go learn accounting and learn programming or learn artwork or whatever it is you're doing. But they make you take a lot of classes that you may not want or need. For example, maybe more of an art related example, if you don't want to draw people, like you really, truly don't want to draw people, why should you take a figure drawing class? I would not be surprised if figure drawing is required in most, fine art style programs. They're going to try to make you learn how to draw the figure, but what if you literally never want to do that? Then maybe you shouldn't. If you're doing your own lesson planning, you get the choice of focusing on the things that actually matter the most to you. 3, maybe time. And I don't know if this is this is an iffy one. I'm almost not putting this in, but I'm going to include it because of the one we just talked about. Because they make you take classes that are not necessarily useful to you, it's going to take additional time than it could if you were able to have the same discipline on your own. And that's the caveat. If you're able to have the same discipline and work ethic on your own, then this is adding classes, which is adding time. For what purpose? To get a degree, to have a piece of paper that doesn't matter. Most jobs that you're going to try to get are not going to require a degree, especially if you're going for game design or the movie industry or anything like that, where you're trying to make your own freelance business, where you're doing your own commissions for people or things like that, or you're selling your own artwork. No one cares about your degree. The only job I can think of that would actually require some kind of degree, either a bachelor's or a master's, would be a teaching job, like a full-time teaching job. At a university, you'd have to have a master's. At a high school, you'd have to have a bachelor's plus a teaching certificate of some kind. And that's how you'd be able to teach, unless you taught part-time, because you could teach at a community college without a degree, as long as you have the skill set to do it. But even then, do you actually need a degree to teach? Of course not. You could make your own teaching program. You could do your own mentorship program. You could teach people through YouTube or through Patreon, or make classes that you put up on Skillshare or Udemy or things like that. You don't need a degree for those. No one cares if you have a degree. They only care about, can you teach the subject? And they're gonna find out. They're gonna look at your preview information, and if they think it's good, then they'll check it out. And if they think it's horrible, they're gonna put a review that's very negative, right? People are gonna find you out if you have the skill set to do it. That's all that matters. Do you have the skill set to do it? Okay. What about learning alternative? If you do want to go the college route, which certainly if you want to, if it's for you, then obviously do it. If that's what you really want to do. But consider your options, because you have the community college. You have a number of universities. You have colleges that like really specialize in artwork, and they can get crazy expensive. I mean, we're talking like, I've heard numbers go up to like $200,000 for a degree. That's crazy. That's absolutely mind-blowing crazy. You could also go to an atelier, which is a place that would really just specialize in some hardcore learning from a master artist of some kind, someone who's been trained there. It's more of a workshop style learning. And if you want to draw more realistic stuff, like in the old masters and cast drawings and paintings and things like that, an atelier would be fantastic. You would learn a lot from an atelier, probably more than a university or a college. And then you have, I don't know, I guess you would call them like a trade school that just specializes purely in artwork. And this is where I'd put the Academy of Art University, which is where I went for my master's program for one semester. And that one semester was fantastic. I kind of would put that in a trade school category just because they focus on artwork specifically. But that's probably not an accurate description. It's just the way I think of it. So those are some of the things that you want to think about. If there's anything that you think I missed, please put it in the comments below. Let's now talk about learning from home. Learning from home. So this could be titled many things, learning on your own, learning outside of a college program. Let's say, what are the pros? Let's say very low cost. 2, you can set your own deadlines. Can set your own schedule. And deadlines. 3, you can fully customize what you're learning. So let's say customize learning plan. 4, you can piecemeal from different resources. Piecemeal from the best of each subject. Best of each subject. All right, so obviously the cost, it could be as little as free to maybe several $1,000s, but several $1,000s, even if you spent $10,000, that is significantly less than $100,000 or $200,000 for a proper art school education. You can set your own deadlines. So if you have a family, if you have other things that you're supposed to be, that you do, or maybe you have a health condition that you need to spend certain times on, or maybe you don't want to let your health deteriorate, so you want to make sure you continue exercising regardless of anything else you're doing. You can customize your schedule and set deadlines that matches your life and your goals and how fast do you want to get this done. And you can customize your learning plan. So if you don't want to do figure drawing, you don't have to do figure drawing. If you really want to master it though, you can add a lot extra. Like maybe you don't want to do environment, so you really push that to the maybe you take one class, one small little class on basic environments, and you focus the rest of your time on character development and drawing figures and drawing portraits, and you focus your time there, which allows you to get to what you want to do, that job or that career, or that business, a lot quicker. Another part of that customization would be maybe you want to be a very realistic painter, maybe you want to be more of a cartoony painter, maybe you want to draw comics. You get to choose to learn from people that will teach you the style that you want to learn. Whereas if you went to a college, you're going to have to draw whatever style they teach, and you're stuck there until your degree's finished, basically. Number 4, the best of each subject. So if you want to learn environment painting, you can go find the best environment painters that you can in styles that you like and learn from them. And then if you want to learn figure drawing, you can go pick another teacher and learn from them. Or if you're able to do it on your own, you can get books and things like that and do it on your own. But regardless, you can study the style that you want and from the people that you want. So those are very big pros of doing it on your own, or the cons. Requires self-discipline. All right, first problem. It requires you to be disciplined. It requires you to keep in mind that goal that you're shooting for and to not stop. It requires you to set deadlines and to be organized and to make sure you're actually putting in the effort and not allowing yourself to get distracted on all these different things that you could be doing in life, like playing games or scrolling Facebook or any of those things. All of that stuff steals your time. And in a world like today, when it's so pervasive in everything we do, this is a key thing. You must be able to shut those things off and be disciplined in your study if you're going to do it from home. 2, networking. If you're learning from home, it's going to be significantly harder to network than if you're in college. On the other hand, this is not a complete con though, because it's something that you can overcome. You can go join art groups. You can go talk to people that actually want to do similar to what you want to do. So now you're not networking with fine artists and you're trying to be a comic book artist. You're networking with comic book artists and you want to be a comic book artist. So now you can actually help each other even better to get into the industry and help each other grow towards that industry. So networking is a thing that you can overcome if you're working from home. You can get on Discords. You can get on my Discord below. It's in the description. A lot of the classes that you can sign up for, again, they're relatively very inexpensive from very good teachers. They all have Discords, and you can get on all of them and have a big community of people that are all trying to learn. And you'll very quickly see which ones are better and which ones are more suited to you. And again, you just have to make sure that you are disciplined and not to get sidetracked in all these conversations or just weird stuff. Keep doing your work while you're networking, and don't get lost in all this little minutia and everything that can take all your time. 3, what's another one? Number 3, lack of support. Nice. I'm specifically talking about, say you're still a teenager coming into adulthood and you want to really master this craft. And this is often a thing where your parents may not support you doing this on your own. They want you to go to college. So you would have to somehow overcome that or prove to them that this works, or suck it up and go to college, or find some other way of handling this. But you may find there's a distinct lack of support because they may not realize that you can actually do this. A lot of people still believe that you must have a degree to do something with artwork, even though artists know that you don't. You need a portfolio. You need to be able to do the work. Number 4 is lesson planning. Yep, this is of course a pro and a con. It's a con because this takes a lot of work, and you may not have the experience to pick good classes. You may not have the experience to know exactly what it is you want to do. This can be slightly solved by, again, just networking and asking people who are better and more advanced than you, what do they recommend? And there's a lot of that kind of help out there. In fact, you can go look at my lesson plan video for some advice. You can also join my Discord and just talk to people. But this could possibly be difficult if you are very inexperienced. In fact, not possibly. It will be difficult because you're going to question, like, what books do you need? How many books do you need? Even if it's just on one subject, should I have this anatomy book or that anatomy book? And you really need to be able to make some decisions on that. So if you don't feel comfortable making those kind of decisions, then college might be better because they've already made the decisions for you. But if you want to learn how to make your own decisions, if you're willing to roll with the punches a little bit, you could do your own lesson plan, you can do your studies, and as you get more experience, you'll be able to make better decisions on what you're choosing and the types of people that you're going to take classes from and follow. I'm going to add a pro here for lots of options, because really there are so many options these days. You have even just the information on YouTube is so awesome for learning if you actually treat things like a course, though. This is where I used to just binge watch all these videos on how to draw or whatever. And you think you're getting something done because you're watching so many, but you're not really actually practicing it. And like, that's the wrong thing to do. This is where you need to have discipline and a plan. And then that 20-minute how to draw video becomes a 2-hour study of just the video. And then many hours after that of actually applying that to your own practice, more original practice, to try to really make sure you understand what they're saying in that small, short, little 20-minute video. So even YouTube alone can teach you just so much. But then there's other things out there, like Proko has amazing courses from a lot of teachers. There's Chris Legespi, I think that's how you say his name, but he has great stuff on figure drawing. You have David Finch with his figure drawing stuff and more comic style. Gosh, there's just so many options now. You have Art Camp for environmental painting. You have tons of stuff off Gumroad. You have the course from QBrush, which is more about, well, I guess it leans heavily more towards game development and kind of an anime style. I'm not really into anime, be honest, I'm not into anime, but he does still teach good things. And some of these courses, like, for example, the one from QBrush, that covers like everything. And Art Camp kind of covers all topics. So there's so many options. Oh, there's SVS Learn. That one has tons of classes, and it looks like they're trying to develop like a roadmap of going through a lot of different subjects to have a complete education on artwork. There's just so many amazing things. You have tons and tons of options, and they're all well priced. Okay, so this is just some thoughts on college versus learning from home. Either one of them can work. You see, you could go to college and you could put a lot of effort in. Even if they're teaching bad, you can still put a lot of effort in. And you could be working before you graduate college. Or you can stay at home and do these other lesson plans. And as long as you have the discipline and the motivation to actually go through with this, and as long as you have the discipline and the plan in place, you can make that work. You might be able to make that work better than going to college, like a lot faster and better than going to college because of all the pros. I have to add one more pro here for college: feedback. They critique your work. You need that. 5 possible lack of feedback. I'm wording that on purpose because if you take a course, it's quite possible that you'll be able to get feedback from the course. Or if you do networking, you can get feedback from your peer group and from the teacher through the networking aspect of this, getting on the discords, getting on the groups, and just talking to people and asking for advice and being willing to receive that advice. In college, they're going to give you the feedback. I think that covers it. If you have any questions, if you think I missed anything, go ahead and post in the comments below. And with that, everyone, take care and God bless.